Hey everyone, it's Darth Paradigm. Got myself a fancy schmancy new NeoPixel saber. This is by Sabermach, and it is the Templar. And I'm just going to show you kind of the LED colors that are available and the blade effects that are available. And I'm going to show off the sound fonts that are available. So if you don't want any spoilers, you can kind of skip the sound font section because, that's maybe you want to find out what the sound is like when you get yours. I don't know if that's a thing. So anyway, to turn the saber on, you hold this button.
Ready.
Turns it on. Hit this once, and the saber's on. And right now I have it set to yellow with a bit of a flicker and a blade scroll, as you can see. Now to change the effects, you just simply hold this button, and after like a few seconds, I don't know exactly how many, the blade effect will change. So you get a bit of a pulse here. And the pulse is kind of different depending on the blade color that you have selected. I'll hold it again. Now we get a bit of a rainbow, but just kind of limited to the color range of the yellow. And that one, as you notice, is going this way. And the next one goes that way. And then you get kind of the Cylon action, which is pretty cool. And this is your solid blade with a scroll. And then the next one should be the flicker. But this flicker doesn't have a scroll. There we go. You had to go through one more of those little rainbow things, then you get to this flicker with the scroll. So you can either have the flicker without a scroll or the flicker with a scroll. So I'm just going to get back to the solid for the rest of this. So you have to kind of cycle through all the different blade effects in order to get the one that you want. And this is the one that I want. Now to change colors, you're actually going to hold down the auxiliary button, and then you're going to press and hold that, and that'll cycle through the different colors that are available. So you have light green, bright green, and kind of a pale blue, I guess, and a bright blue, and it's kind of a very light purple, and kind of a mint green, and that's white. And here you have a bright purple, and I have no idea. Another pale pink maybe, and red, very bright, and back to yellow. The yellow is kind of what I keep it on for this particular sound font. This is the kind of the Imperial Knight that I showed you guys last night in my video. Now, when you adjust the blade profile and the color, that's independent from the font. So whatever font you pick, it's going to have the same profile that you set it to. So it doesn't work like a CFX or or it can't be set up like a Profi. Not that I know of. So if you change the font and you find a font that you like, then you kind of have to, if you want to use a different color or a blade profile for that particular font, then you have to make the adjustments. It doesn't remember that. It just remembers the last settings that you had, and that's about the extent of it. Now, it's pretty easy to turn it on and off. It's just a tap. So it's a little bit easy. The switch is kind of not as recessed as I like, so you have to be kind of careful when you're spinning. You can accidentally kind of turn it off, and you can't really change the settings, but you can accidentally turn it off. So anyway, fonts. Now for sound fonts, you want to have the saber on, but you want to have the blade retracted. You don't want the saber on. So you just hold the button down for.
I've come to put an end to you.
So that's a star killer.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Anakin.
Gray meat.
Gray meat. Gray meat sounds really cool on this one.
The Force is calling to you.
Kind of a ray font. Forgive me for having the light on, but I figure it was just easier for you guys to see the saber and see what I'm doing. I don't want to listen to people mentioning that.
Something inside me has always been there when I was awake.
So another ray font. And the other thing to notice is when the saber's on, this will illuminate. But when the saber is ignited, both of them are illuminated to indicate that, you know, they're both currently functioning. Now this font is pretty weird. It's the Cape Cod font, apparently. That's pretty weird.
Temple Guard.
Temple Guard, that's what it is. This is the one I've been keeping it on. Now to engage the flash on clash, you're actually holding the button and then you're striking the blade, and then you continue to hold the button until you want the flash on clash to, or not the flash on clash, the lockup. I meant lockup. So you hold that until you want the lockup to turn off. So while you're dueling, or if you decide to duel with this, you could obviously, strike something, and you have direct control of your lockup, which is pretty cool. And that pretty much covers everything that the Saber can do. And when it's charging, it actually tells you that it's charging, and the blade actually illuminates. The closer it is to the hilt, the less charge there is in the battery. And it kind of like works its way up the blade till it gets to the tip. It turns from, I don't know what the color is down here, but around here it's blue. Then when it gets to about here, it turns green. And then when it gets to the top, the Saber is essentially full. And this flashes, the indicator flashes, and when the Saber is fully charged, it just stops flashing. Now, the instructions recommended that you don't leave it charging overnight, and I would assume that it has a lot to do with the fact that the LEDs are actually illuminating. And if you were to leave that on overnight, then it could possibly damage the LEDs. So as you heard, the Saber actually just powered off, which it does on its own, which is really awesome. But you can actually do that yourself to turn the Saber to wake it up.
Ready.
You just do that, and then to put it to sleep, you just go
Power off.
So the gist of the Saber is that, where the breakdown is, it's pretty simple. It does have kind of limitations to what it does, but what it does do, it's really easy to gain access to all the features and the colors and the fonts and the switch, and to kind of customize them as you see fit. And so there's a lot of flexibility in that regard. And so, if I were to put this up against CFX or some of the top end Sabers, I would say, well, yeah, I mean, you're definitely not getting quite that much more bang for your buck, but for the price that you're paying for this, if you're on a budget and you want to get like a NeoPixel, the Saber kind of rocks. I mean, that's just my opinion. My only gripe is the fact that the blade is a little rattly. The LEDs kind of move around inside the blades. So that's kind of a drag. But so far, it hasn't really been an issue. I did try another brand of blade in here, and I found that another blade, which was also a 36-inch, but it was a little bit longer. It was about this much longer. Was a little bit brighter. So I think if you were to, I have a 32-inch NeoPixel blade that I'm probably going to throw in here, and I think that it could definitely use an improved blade, but the one that comes with it is definitely sufficient, for your purposes. And if you decide to replace it, that's completely on you. Now, I won't demonstrate that here, but the Saber does come apart here, and it comes apart here. And when you take out the pommel, you'll notice that the speaker is kind of, it's separate from the chassis. It's not in the chassis, which is customary. But there's a reason for that, why it's loose. And it does have a lot of extra cable. And the reason for that is you can actually unscrew this and slide it off, and that gives you access to the 18650 battery and the soundboard. And there is an actual micro SD card in there. And you should be able to go in and customize fonts. I mean, everything's kind of, it's not in English, so just be aware of that. But I mean, as far as the banks are in English, and the configuration, there's a configuration file. Now I went in there to try to adjust the LED length for the different blade that I put in here, and it just simply would not go beyond what we have here. I think that's the limit. I think it will only go, I think it's tailor designed to only illuminate up to the point of the blade that comes with the saber and its length. Anything longer than that, and it just won't illuminate it. So that kind of negates the, if you're going to put in another 36-inch or a 37-inch or whatever inch blade, you're probably not going to get it illuminated all the way to the end, and that's obviously kind of a drag. But I imagine that a 32-inch blade will probably work out fine. So you can go in there and customize it. And as far as, putting in fonts and whatnot, apparently you're supposed to be able to do that. I have no idea. I haven't even attempted it yet. I've just been trying to sort of get into the Saber as it is. One thing to note, my Saber on the handle does have some blemishes to the anodization. Some of the aluminum is showing through. You probably can't really see that here, but I have already kind of decided I'm going to put a very, very short wrap on the Saber anyway, because I don't know, for some reason, for me, a Revan Saber really needs to have a wrap on it. Anyway, so as I was saying, you can unscrew this and you can take the whole thing not completely off, but off enough that you can access everything. And that's why the speaker, because I think it's a 28mm speaker. I'm not 100% certain, but they had to have that kind of loose from everything else because it is kind of a thin chassis, and they have enough cords so that once you do what you need to do and retighten this, and you put the speaker back in, you can kind of get in there, and there's enough extra speaker, wire, so you can kind of put it in there nicely and then screw this on. And you don't have to worry about twisting off wires, because I've actually done that with Sabers where, similar setups, and they only give you maybe that much wire. And you start turning this in, twist the speaker with the pommel, and you can actually damage the wires. So I've had to do some rewiring in the past on other Sabers, because you're not even aware that you're damaging it while it's happening. So that isn't a problem with this Saber. So they kind of thought of everything. They also put in 2 blade retention screws to hold the blade on, which is really nice. When you insert the blade, the depth is pretty decent. I mean, it goes all the way down to about here, and then you can also feel the tactile of the whatever it is, the contacts on the blade reaching the pins, and the pins kind of squish in. You can feel that, so you have a nice firm contact, and I haven't had any issue with that whatsoever. It's other than the blade being really rattly, this is on here very well. And yeah, so that pretty much just about covers the features and the makeup of this Saber. I mean, this is kind of a review. But I'll have a separate review where I'll kind of show off the hilt in some decent light. I'm going to wait until I get the wrap on there before I bother to do that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the Sabermach Templar. I definitely am glad that I purchased this Saber, and I think it's a good buy for the amount of money that you can spend. They do have an LED version of this, which is, I think it costs not quite half, but it's definitely a severely discounted Saber. And I imagine it would have all the same features, just you don't get the
Ready.
you don't get the scrolling effect of NeoPixel, and it probably wouldn't be quite as bright. Yeah. So this Saber kind of rocks. So anyway, that ends this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it informative. Please in the comments let me know if I left anything out, because invariably I probably did. I try to get all the deets in there, but I always end up leaving something out. That's just kind of the way these things go. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to let you go. So I hope everyone has a good evening and a good rest of the week, and I'll probably see you tomorrow with something. Yeah. All right. Take care now. I'll catch you later. Bye.